Christina, now that your father is gone and I'll inherit $300 million, I don't need you anymore. You can leave." These words hit me like an icy torrent, shattering the silence in the room. It was my mother, looking at me with the same cold gaze she never tried to hide. Yes, it hurts. Of course it hurts, but deep down, I knew it would happen. I took a deep breath, forced a polite smile, and replied, "All right, I'll leave." The following days passed in agonizing silence, but then the phone rang. It was her, the woman who declared she didn't need me. "Christina, where's my share of the inheritance?" Her voice trembled, mixing panic and rage. She could never have imagined that the person she constantly underestimated had planned everything down to the smallest details. My father was always 10 steps ahead. "My name is Christina, I'm 28, and until recently I lived with my parents in the cozy town of Boulder, Colorado. From the outside, we probably seemed like the perfect family. My father, my idol, was a businessman who built Arwood Solution from scratch. A man of principles, he always kept his word. No matter how hard his work at the Denver office was, he found time for me. I remember him coming home exhausted but still smiling and asking, 'What are our plans for today, little one?' He was my support. My mother, a completely different story. She reminded me of daytime talk show stars, always impeccably dressed, always at some social event, but emotionally unreachable. She promised to spend time with me, only to cancel plans at the last minute. At home, she seemed more like a guest than a parent. If my father was the backbone of our family, she was like a superficial coat of paint, beautiful to look at but lacking depth. As I grew older, I admired my father more and more. I dreamed of working side by side with him, learning his trade and continuing his legacy. I had no idea he was quietly preparing me for something greater, an ending to this story no one could predict. When I turned 20, our simple conversations turned into business talks. He taught me the basics: leadership, responsibility, strategy. Mom remained the same, physically present but absent in spirit. The only time she showed real emotion was during my second year at the University of Colorado. I sat with my dad and said, "I want to work with you after graduation. I'm preparing for it. I want to follow your path." He looked proud but didn't get a chance to respond. Mom interrupted as if it was a commercial break in a good movie. "Christina, are you serious? Another one of your crazy schemes?" she asked with a mocking smile. "I am serious. I want to build something like my dad did," I responded confidently. She sighed theatrically, worthy of a soap opera. A woman should find a decent husband and let him take care of her. It was then I realized arguing was pointless, like explaining modern apps to someone who still uses a landline telephone. I wasn't about to live by her outdated principles. I focused on my studies, and eventually she gave in. "If you need it, fine. Just don't come crying to me later." It was the price I was willing to pay for my independence. Immediately after graduation, I joined Randwood Solutions. The more we worked together, the stronger our bond became, but I didn't know he was racing against time. He taught me everything, every strategy, every detail of the business in just 6 months. And then one day, he collapsed right in the office. The diagnosis turned our lives upside down. The next 5 years were a long, exhausting struggle. Dear listeners, do you remember an interesting story in your relationship with your parents? Share it in the comments, and maybe it will inspire us for the next story. "Christina, how is the company doing without Dad?" asked Mom, hiding her doubts behind a thin mask of care. "It's a challenge," I replied confidently, "but Dad left me everything I need." Her look, a mixture of disbelief and irritation, only confirmed that I made the right choice. "Well, just don't ruin the company," she said with her typical, "I told you so." Second generation often do that. During my father's illness, I became more withdrawn. Arguments with my mother became a habit. Despite his waning health, Father insisted on visiting the Renwood Solution office in Denver from time to time. Every time he crossed the threshold, it was clear he still considered the company his kingdom, though he understood the time to let go had come. "These employees, this company, they mean everything to me, Christina," he told me once, and his voice trembled. "But I know I must let them go." These words left a heavy mark on my heart. "I don't know if I can be like you, Dad," I quietly admitted, feeling a lump in my throat. "But I promise I will do everything to preserve what you created." At that moment, my life changed. He left me not just a company, he handed me a dream, something he built from scratch with his own hands. Since then, days merged into a single endless canvas. During the day, I dealt with Renwood Solutions affairs. Evenings I spent at Boulder Hospital. This routine became my support, my source of strength. Mom did only the bare minimum, bringing fresh clothes, sighing heavily as if each visit was a burden to her. I often wondered if she felt even a trace of gratitude, a shadow of compassion. Seeing my father so weak after all his sacrifices broke my heart. She continued to quibble over trivialities, while he gave his all until the end. For a year, I held on, working late, visiting the hospital, living on scraps of sleep and endless anxiety. And then one day, he quietly passed away in his sleep. In the whirl of funeral preparations, hospital bills, and legal papers, I had no time to mourn. As always, Mom expected me to do everything myself. She never stepped out of her comfort zone. The day after the funeral, when I hoped to catch a breath, she approached me. "Well, the funeral's over. Maybe it's easier for you now," she said nonchalantly, as if grief was just a checklist item. I took a deep breath. Don't expect sympathy from her. I knew her too well. "Please leave this house," she suddenly said. "I'm awaiting the inheritance, and you're no longer welcome here." She said it like a recited line, without a trace of emotion. Her words struck me not because they surprised me, but because no daughter should hear such things from her own mother. Arguing with her would be futile, like trying to stop a cat chasing birds. Did she truly believe that money could replace love? That wealth absolves her of all responsibility? Thousands of thoughts swirled in my mind, but I decided to leave. The next day I packed my things, sold the excess, completed all affairs. Mom was shocked at how quickly I disappeared from our home in Boulder. She didn't know I had been preparing for this for months. But the main thing, she didn't know my secret. Although she believed she inherited $300 million, the truth was different. Father entrusted me with full control of his estate. "Your mother doesn't understand the value of money," he once told me. I clearly remembered his instruction. He made me the sole heir and charged me with overseeing her essential expenses. "If you give her everything at once, she'll squander it in a moment," he warned. "And if she starts complaining, don't give her a penny more." He said it half in jest, half seriously. Father left me not just an inheritance. He entrusted me with a small disc with a video message addressed to my mother. I didn't think I'd have to use it, but recent events changed everything. Soon the phone rang. "Come home right now," demanded Mom. Her voice quivered with tension and disappointment. "I'm at RD Solutions office, Mom. What happened?" I asked, trying to keep calm. "I need to talk to you. It's important. Come quickly," she insisted. I wasn't sure if I would use the disc, but I had to be ready. As soon as I stepped over the threshold of our house, accusations poured like machine gun fire. "You took all of Dad's inheritance. Yes, I figured it out when you left so hastily. Give it to me right now." Her greed filled the room like thick fog. I looked at her silently. I paused for several seconds, pondering whether to respond myself or let the video speak for me. "You're incredibly selfish. You don't even know how to be a daughter," she sharply retorted. I didn't argue. Instead, I silently handed her the memory card. Her face transformed. Anger turned to confusion. "What is this?" she asked, turning the card over in her hands as if it were some alien object. "You probably don't even know how to turn it on," I said, hiding disappointment with dry sarcasm. Retrieving the laptop, I inserted the card and started the video. The screen came alive, and there he was, my father as alive as I remembered. I placed the laptop on the table and left, leaving her alone with the recording. Walking down the corridor of our house, I wondered if his words would reach her. In life, she never disputed him, but what now? When I returned, she sat motionless, tears streaming down her cheeks. I couldn't believe my eyes. I didn't even know she could cry. Curiosity pulled me to find out what he said to affect her so deeply, but I didn't ask. Perhaps I was afraid, or maybe it was meant only for her. "Mom, are you okay?" I gently asked. She wiped her tears with trembling fingers. "Yes, I will be fine. Now I understand. I will respect what your father said. From this day, everything's in your hands. Go home today. Call when you have time." I nodded. She needed time. On the way to my apartment, her words stayed in my mind. How did he manage to reach her so deeply even after death? Days passed, then weeks, not a word from her. Her silence started to trouble me. One day at dinner, I decided to visit her. I knocked on the door, no response. The house was empty. In the evening, I returned and felt relieved seeing light in the windows. "Sorry for coming unannounced," I said when she opened the door. "I came earlier, but no one was home. I became worried." "I was at a part-time job," she replied so casually, as if it was self-evident. "At a part-time job?" I repeated, astonished. I always considered her categorically against work, almost allergic to the very idea of labor. Her sudden pivot left me speechless. "How did that happen?" I asked. "Did you watch the video, the one meant just for you?" She nodded and pushed the memory card toward me. "You should watch it too, Christina. Take it with you." "Are you sure?" I asked, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach as I took the small card. "Please do," she said quietly, and her face remained impassive. I returned to my office at Rude Solution with an incomprehensible weight on my heart. I sat in the chair that used to be my father's, took a deep breath, and inserted the card into the computer. The screen lit up and I saw him, familiar and comforting. "My dear," he began, his voice steady and thoughtful. "If you are watching this, it means you couldn't reach Christina." He started as always. "First, thank you for helping me raise Christina. Without you, I would not have coped with business and caring for her simultaneously." His words echoed in the silent office in Denver, but something in his tone made me wary. And then came the moment that changed everything. "You cared for Christina, although she is not your biological daughter, and for that I am deeply grateful." Time seemed to stop. What is he saying? Am I not his daughter? His words hit me like lightning, but he continued, unknowingly provoking a storm of emotions within me. "You were by my side all these years, sacrificing your dreams. You reached this point almost without help, and I know I'm partly to blame. I gave you life and comfort, but now without me, I'm afraid it might be tough for you." My head was spinning. Everything around fell into place. Her emotional detachment, minimal care, and now these sincere words. He spoke so honestly that it cut deeper than I expected. "I'm really sorry, but I worry about how you will manage when I'm gone." I slowly closed the laptop, thoughts swirling, overflowing with questions, uncertainty, and mixed feelings. That night I couldn't sleep, my mind replaying each word. In the morning, I realized I couldn't ignore it. I needed answers. I drove to our home in Boulder, approached her, and said, "Mom, I watched Dad's video yesterday, now I know the truth." My voice trembled as I faced a reality I hadn't suspected. "I raised you," she said, "because your father asked me, only for that reason." Her voice was heavy. Each word carried the burden of truth hidden over the years. The ensuing silence was dense, but I couldn't stop. "I need to know everything. What happened to my real mother?" I asked, determined to understand my story. She took a deep breath before answering. "You were born to my sister and your father. My sister died shortly after your birth. Your father was crushed by grief. I promised him I would raise you and became your mother." Her words were both comforting and confounding. At last, the pieces of my life began to form a coherent picture. Her detachment, her way of caring now made sense. I recalled snippets from childhood, how she worked at a cafe, genuinely smiling while serving customers, how she spoke with joy about the dream of opening her own establishment. It was her dream she abandoned for me. Inspired by Father's message and perhaps relief from uncovering the truth, she decided to pursue this dream again. She took a part-time job, focusing on a new beginning. One day, during a calm conversation, she told me, "I should have done this long ago. Work brings joy, and I'm surprised at how capable I feel. I never would have thought I would enjoy it so much." I looked at her, unsure what to say. "Is it because of me you didn't work earlier?" I quietly asked. "I'm sorry if it was." She gently shook her head. "No, it was my choice. But the truth is, I've never been naturally good with children. I tried but couldn't be the mother you really needed." Her honesty caught me off guard. For the first time, we talked without filters, without accusations, without walls, just two people opening up to each other after years of estrangement. In the following days, our conversations continued. Gradually, we began to understand each other not only as mother and daughter, but as two women re-establishing a connection after silence. And in one such conversation, we decided to use part of Father's money together, enough to help her open her dream cafe. "What do you want to name your establishment?" I asked. She paused for a moment, then smiled. "Cafe at Lyra's," she replied with a sparkle in her eye. Lyra was my grandmother's name. Since she began working, Mom changed, became more grounded and thoughtful. When we discussed the use of the inheritance for the cafe, she hesitated, a clear contrast to the woman who once thoughtlessly asked me to leave home. Managing Warwood Solutions, I supported her all the way through opening Cafe at Lyra's. We started spending more time together, sharing responsibilities and small moments. Something unexpected happened. Our relationship slowly began to grow. It wasn't easy, but for the first time, it truly felt like a mother-daughter bond. Although it all started so differently, now something significant was beginning to happen. When it came to everyday expenses, Mom was unwavering. She insisted on covering them from her income, refusing to touch the father's inheritance. "Promise you'll tell if you're struggling," I said, sincerely concerned. "Dad entrusted me with caring for you." I said this with genuine care. She softly smiled, showing the independence she was so diligently building. "I'll manage." "Living alone isn't that expensive," she replied. But when the topic returned to expenses for cafe at Lyra's, her expression changed. It was clear she still wanted to retain autonomy, but understood support might be needed. After a moment of contemplation, she said, "Then I count on you. I really want this, so let's do everything right." Her determination was evident, as was the hope in her eyes. After all we went through, we finally became a true family. The fact she wasn't my biological mother might have separated us, but instead, it brought us closer. It seemed the truth revealed itself at just the right moment. "Your cafe opens tomorrow," I said with a proud smile, standing in the midst of the almost ready cafe at Lyra's in Boulder. "Your dream is finally coming true." She looked at me, visibly touched. "Seeing you help build this cafe reminds me of my youthful dreams. I think I'm here today because of you and your father." "Grateful," I replied. "Thank you, Mom." She took my hand and firmly said, "I will always be your mother." At that moment, I felt a new closeness between us. Since then, I knew our relationship would become stronger than ever. After Father's death, I accepted the truth of our circumstances. I decided to stay in Colorado and even contemplated moving part of Rude Solutions operations from Denver to Boulder to be closer to her. But Mom, as always, had her concerns. "You eat terribly when alone. It looks like I'll have to take care of you again," she said with a light complaint but warmth in her voice. Sometimes I imagined how surprised and proud Father would be to see how close we became. His home, his business, his legacy, all were now in reliable hands. The deeper our bond grew, the firmer I was in honoring his legacy. Every day we would visit Father's and my biological mother's graves, Mom's older sister, to share news about our lives. These quiet visits to the Boulder Cemetery brought peace and a sense of unity, as if showing them everything had finally settled. After completing the adoption process, I officially became her daughter. It was more than just papers. It affirmed our bond beyond blood. Every morning, preparing cafe at Lyra's for opening, she greeted visitors with the same warmth she now treated me while I continued to grow Wood Solutions, embodying Father's vision and creating my own. Today, we are a real family. This experience taught me an important lesson. Always seek the truth before reacting in anger or making hasty conclusions. Sometimes, the answers we seek come with unexpected lessons that help us grow. Did you like the story? Write your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next interesting story. See you tomorrow.